Hey, everybody. How's it going? How's it going, eh? I was talking to some of our Canadian members and earlier this week. So that was like a little Strange Brew reference, Bob and Doug McKenzie. How's it going, eh? Tell you how it's going in Toronto. Maple Leafs lose again. This isn't sports, though. This isn't sports. This is indie agency news. The brief. Build the global home for independent agencies. The mission, serve independent agencies and the brilliant people behind them. Our goal is more visibility for indies, more choice for marketers. To everybody who has joined, thank you so much for your support. We're growing up a little bit, so trying to make this site a little bit more navigatable. Not a word, but it is now. You can see Jessa Ferris. She's did her nice little roundup there, a little show off. That's our thing with work, showing off, show off. We are doing a almost daily, daily spin. So for those of you, I was at Ad Age. I was a blogger for Ad Age back in 2004, I think it was. 2004 to 2007. So I have history with them and I love them. But I was at Ad Week and we used to do Daily Stir for Agency Spy, RIP. So this is our take on it. It's our little indie spin and we focus purely on what our members are up to. So new feature of this. You got our Meet an Indie Agency. We got Indie Thinking, which is today. Op-eds, we want to see your op-eds. Then we got the indie work, and then we've got our design winners. Speaking of awards, our People and Agency Award. Weirdos, Misfits, and Underdogs. This has been a long time coming. It's the award for the rest of us. And we're going to be opening an Indie Hall of Fame as well. So not only are we going to be celebrating the weirdos, misfits, and underdogs of this community, of this industry, we're going to start a Hall of Fame, which will be really, really fun. So get on in here. And we try to keep it super, super short, only 3 to 6 fields to fill out all the information that you need right here. There's an entry kit. And yes, you can prepay for your entries, so as little as $100 per entry, and they never expire. They're like Delta Sky Miles. They never expire. So again, thank you to our members. We got some new ones here. We're close to 250, which is great. This time last year we had about 80. So we're super proud of where we're going. But it's really important that we continue this mission, and we're thrilled that people believe in this mission and believe in what we're doing. So thank you to our newest members. You can see there, Ardmore, John Keane over in Belfast. So when I say global home for independent agencies, I mean global. So we're excited to have him as well. And then Vayner joined, which is cool. And we'll have some more announcements probably a little bit later today. We got a few more to add to share and to celebrate before we get into the long weekend here in the United States. And 2 of our members, Yes and Colossus, joining us today, Josh Gold and Travis Robertson. First off, thank you so much for supporting this mission. We really appreciate it. Not sure where Jamie Barrett is, but we're working on, we'll get him in here. We'll get him in here for sure. But what are you doing for the long weekend? Let me just start with that. Let's just be mundane for a minute. Josh, what are you doing this weekend?
I'm spending a lot of time on youth soccer fields for a tournament because, Memorial Day, and basically that means I'm sitting in some camp chair watching a lot of kids chase.
In Virginia or elsewhere?
In Virginia, but it's always wonderful where they do it like an hour away from me.
So and down in between Richmond and DC, right?
Yeah.
And I know exactly where you're talking. Yes.
They'll put a gap of like 4 hours between games. So
yes.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh my God. So good. Travis, what are you doing?
I'm going to sleep as much as I can.
At a kid.
But then, like any great ad agency, we have a pitch Tuesday morning.
Oh shit!
which is
Really?
just like, yeah, really great timing. But
Well, say la vie.
we'll work through it.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, it's funny, Josh. I lived a little over a summer in Richmond, and I was a manager at a soccer store, and I remember them talking about that like where everybody plays. Like, yeah, we got to go up a little bit farther. We got to go a little north.
Yep.
So
Yeah, they've put it in a place where actually nobody is, so
yeah,
everybody has to travel.
yep,
But
that
help you
tracks.
see Virginia.
DoorDash, you might want to start passing out gift cards down there, right?
Right.
How many? Because that was the same with lacrosse, where it's like you get to a tournament and there's nothing to eat, so we
Yeah.
DoorDashed a lot.
It's the food desert of Central Virginia.
Right. Exactly. Well, again, thank you so much for supporting this mission. We're on version 1.7 of this thing. We're still kicking along and looking forward to going to Cannes. And the issue today, or the topic today, that we're really digging into is and this was brought up by our good friend Steve Sapka, saying, are you interested in talking about B2B? Yes, of course I am. I've done a lot of B2B for a long time. It's been more on this editorial and content end, but there has been some biz dev, et cetera, on it. Also, during my time when I was working with the Advertising Week folks, Stillwell Partners in New York, one of the things that was one of the highlights, and they're not an indie, but they're indie in spirit. Every year that I was involved, or like 4 of the years I was involved, Goodby would come out with a new ad for Adobe, and it was excellent B2B marketing. And it was funny because I would have those questions those conversations with Rich and Jeff and say, why can't B2B be like this all the time? And they just shrugged. They said, we don't know. So what I want to start with is let's just get a little bit broad in this. And Travis, I want to start with you about what clients get wrong in your mind about B2B. And Josh, I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Just going off what you just said about Goodby, like you ask that question, and they say, I don't know why everybody can't do good work like you do on Adobe. And that seems to be like the running gag. I think that B2B just fell into a habit for so long of being boring.
Right.
And people stopped showing clients good work and started showing them what they thought was expected within that category. It's funny too, because the thing to me that we talk a lot about is that the C-suite people that are making these decisions in the B2B world, the enterprise level buyers that are making decisions in the B2B world, they're humans too. Like they go home and they watch Netflix and they order Chinese food and they lay on the couch the same way that we do.
Right.
I don't think that everybody needs to be seen in a suit, doing the power handshake all day.
Right.
There are insights to be mined from human nature that go beyond B2B or B2C.
Right. The arms folded back to back.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
A little Getty watermark in the corner.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Josh, your take on this.
Yeah, I think it's that, definitely. I think, it's interesting because you look at businesses and they don't have enough money to be boring. It's important that they're reaching people, and I think they get that wrong. I think they think risk is risky, and I'd say that risk is actually the antithesis of risky. Taking no risk is, and I think so. What they try to do a lot of times is sell features, sell specs,
right?
And I think they forget about brand, and ultimately, this is about earning trust, right? This is about occupying a place in somebody's mind. So when these buyers, be they C-suite or procurement officers, they feel something and they trust it. And I think a lot of in the B2B space, a lot of people forget about that.
Right. Yeah. It's and it's you're right. You'd rather have somebody have a reaction than gloss over it.
Right.
And I think that turns into one of the big issues. But I want to get into what you believe a definition of good B2B is. And we're going to look at some examples And Josh, I know that your agency is dipping in a little bit more. So we'll look at some of Colossus's work. And when Jamie makes it over, we'll take a look at some of Barrett Hoffer's work as well. And if he doesn't make it, we're still going to look at Barrett Hoffer's work. And then I want to play something that Josh suggested. But Josh, how would you define good B2B work today? And how is it changing? How has it changed in the past few years?
Well, I think, Adobe was at the forefront of a lot of that because it helped you feel something, right? So I'd say great B2B looks a heck of a lot like great B2C.
Right.
And I think it's starting to be recognized. Cannes opened up, what was it, 22, the B2B category. And, I think brave is a word that we're hearing a lot more.
Right.
I think the work, it challenges category conventions. It's breakthrough because it's combining two pieces that should not be combined, right. in a way that stands out. And I think so B2B, and I think this has been led many ways by agencies and independent agencies saying, you don't have to be the least interesting part of yourself because 90% of your market is not in market. So you have to reach them in a way that's stickier.
Yeah. So Travis, over to you. Same question, but also Josh brought up a good point. Indies, and listen, I bang on holdcos just because that's our thing. But why do you believe indie agencies are well suited to B2B? I have a thought on that, but I want to start with your definition of great B2B, how it's changed, and then why indies are uniquely set up potentially to do better work here.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think just kind of piggybacking on what Josh said too, like the B2B category has marketed products for so long that it became this like rational utilitarian message that was just void of anything fun or interesting or emotional. And it's only now that you're starting to see B2B behave more like brands that have products. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So, when you look like the old ladder where it's like emotional or, rational, emotional, inspirational.
Right.
And a brand can kind of move up that ladder. B2B just stayed on the bottom of it and didn't move for some reason. It's really tough for a B2B brand to be inspirational, but at least moving into the emotional space, you see that a lot more. And that excites me in this. I don't know if it's a category or whatever you call it, but I think that's really exciting. In regards to your second question on why are indie agencies well suited for B2B? Like, I mean, I'm with you. I'm not knocking holding companies either, but I think we have more fun. Like we're a fun bunch. Like we kind of do things our own way, which is great. But because we do things our own way, we have a little chip on our shoulder. There's that like underdog mentality.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different. And I think for B2B brands that want to behave a little more like B2C brands, which you see more now, they also embrace that same mentality. Because it used to be, if you think of like the big agencies, and we've all worked at the big agencies, there were like departments for B2B, and they were similar to the departments that were, like direct response.
Right.
And you think of the people that were staffed in those departments, they were really, really junior and really, really senior. And there wasn't a lot of like the middle. It was deemed like less than. It was the less glamorous place to work in the agency.
Right.
And I think you don't have that at indie agencies.
Right.
We're excited to get the brief. We're excited to do our best work on anything we touch.
Yeah, I will note too that you said Fun Bunch. You are in Boston. I know that's a direct reference to Marky Mark and the Fun Bunch.
Oh, nice.
So I just want to point that out. Josh, your thoughts on why indies are uniquely set up?
I mean, I think it's very much what Travis said. Plus, I'd add we have a sense of resourcefulness because we're used to doing without everything that you would want. So we're really good at living within constraints, and couple that with a hunger. We're not going to take this for granted, so we're going to partner closer. We're going to build deeper relationships so we get to understand the brand better, and then we're going to. The pitchers are the doers. The ones who are working for B2B, on an indie space are going to be there, sleeves rolled up, trying to figure it out and getting to, I know of one indie agency that I think wasn't us, but had embedded their CCO in the client's Slack channel to get to understand the culture. And I think that's what indies bring that, the holding companies might not, the networks might not.
Right. No, I get that. Listen, there's a time and a place for a holdco, and it's not always all the time or every place. Let's just say that. Jamie is not going to be joining us, but we're going to take a look at some of their work.
We're going to be really critical.
Yeah, we're going to comment on it. Yeah.
No, I've always loved the work that they do. Yeah. So let's take a look at this one. So a ton of text marketing. Okay. This is such a good point. This goes back to just smart. Text marketing is so effective, right? Look at that. Drive sales with text marketing. So this is attentive. Look at this. Okay. Can we have a conversation about puns, please? Whipple. Hey, Whipple. Why am I spacing his name?
Squeeze this.
Yeah. Oh my God. Why am I spacing? Hey, Whipple. I like the book. I use it for my kids' class. Luke Sullivan.
Yes.
Sorry, Luke. In his book, he says, no puns. And I get it. But, this is not really a pun, but it's kind of a wink. This is sharp, isn't it? Give me your initial thoughts on this, gentlemen.
I love that they're using the antithetical media.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, they're weaponizing the antithetical media. That's really smart. I think that's really clever.
Yeah.
I also love that it's hyper local in its approach. It's again speaking to an audience of people.
Yeah, and I like the fact that we talk. So I can't design my way out of a paper bag, but I'm a big fan of white space, and I wouldn't say there's like a ton of white space here, but there's just enough that it's really balanced. But I also think that it really stands out. Yeah, this definitely would feel very consumer to me. Let's go to this one, Gong Ho. Let's make some noise on the Super Bowl. Luckily for us, their name is Gong. Let's take a listen and a look here. Come on.
Thanks to Gong, our sales teams are closing more deals than ever. To celebrate, we gave everyone sales gongs. Gong gives us visibility and sales insights. It analyzes team performance, customer interaction, and market changes. So anyone can unlock reality to reach their full potential! Anyway, Gong's been a real...
Excellent.
I mean, if you're going to lean into your brand name, lean in really hard. I love that.
It also proves the point that nobody cares about the details of the product. They're going to walk away with the name and a thought.
Yeah, what the hell is Gong?
I love that they just played it straight and they just swamped it, and then it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
You throwing a little back handspring in there, a little sprinkle on top of the sundae.
Virtuosity. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's excellent.
Yeah,
it is so good. You know what? Let's move over to Colossus. Talk to us about CyberArk.
Yeah. The cybersecurity category is just like every trope in the book. It is hackers in hooded sweatshirts and shields and, people that look like they're in the witness protection program.
Right.
CyberArk wanted to own the idea of identity proliferation, that you have, you have a human identity and you have a machine identity. And there's probably 15 of you out there.
All right.
And so in this category, they wanted short, they wanted punchy, machine gun blast in the media with 6-second and 15-second ads, and then a whole identity system around it. And we leaned into the web is a very strange place.
You think?
Yeah. And so we leaned into it pretty hard. We had a lot of fun with these.
So let me play this first one.
Yeah.
What's in a username? personal data, industry secrets, financial information, and access to everything that keeps your IT director up at night. Secure every layer of your organization with intelligent privilege controls from CyberArk, the world's most powerful identity security platform.
What I liked is it still had a little bit of a mechanical feel to it. Like it's like you didn't.
Yeah.
I like that it still was human, but also had a little bit of a not robotic feel, but you know what I mean in terms of like the design choices in this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely design heavy, and this accompanied a full like rebrand,
Right.
and identity system. But
Should we look at the puffer jacket?
yeah, go for it.
Giving developers always-on access can expand into a risky situation. Keep your developers fast and their access secure with intelligent privilege controls from CyberArk.
That was short and sweet. And
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say about this is that like the copy is as rational gets, and that's something the client didn't want to let go of. And
Okay.
so you can preach, brand all you want, but at the end of the day, they want it to be tactical.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's okay. I think you can counterbalance that with something that visually elevates the idea and really gets it into a different space.
It's a single, clear, memorable visual metaphor that you get, and
Right.
it stays with you.
Yeah.
Jesus, I love the behind the scenes stuff. Look at all this stuff
Yeah,
you
that's
guys
great.
did. Good Lord. Good God, Lemon.
Good God, Lemon.
This is remarkable. And it, it's the point too, to remind people, especially brands and marketers, like this stuff, it's very considered, it's very well thought out, it's very strategic, but it's also, I mean, look at this, look at the amount of time and effort that's put into this. There is no button on the keyboard that says make campaign.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. High Spring. Let's take a look at this. Give us the background on this.
High Spring there's a company called Vaco, and it's one of those companies that you may have never heard of, which happens often in the B2B space.
Sure.
They have 10,000 employees. They have 45 offices globally, and you're like, who?
Right.
So through acquisitions, they had taken on like 15 companies, and they wanted to build their own, essentially a holding company in the professional services category. It's like consulting, talent solutions, all of the above.
Right.
And they wanted to position themselves as a tech forward, entity, not just a people in suits,
right,
kind of vibe. So this was not an ad campaign. This is an identity.
It's a system.
Yeah, man.
So what were some of the considered choices here? Because you can look at this, and that's the thing about identities and building a brand identity that is really challenging is, here's what I like. It's like, you can tell it's clearly an H. There are just some really interesting decisions that have been made here.
Yeah.
How did you unpack all of that?
A lot of strategy work. So I think the design is the thing that we ooh and ah over, but the back end of that is way more important. The strategy that went into it, and also just kind of getting under the hood. These big organizations, you want to not just talk to the marketing department. You want to talk to sales. You want to talk to marketing, obviously, but their partners, their acquisition leaders, all of the above, to make sure that you're saying the right things.
It's sharp. Speaking of complex, Josh, Yes and works with a lot of complex organizations.
We do.
So I'm going to stop the screen, but Travis, excellent stuff. So Josh, I do want to talk to you a little bit about this, because you've worked traditionally in these complex areas. You're getting more into B2B, and I do want to share what you thought was a really great piece of work, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But I do want to go a little bit more into Yes and where that is all tracking.
Yeah, I think making complexity accessible to an audience. One of our, because by nature of us being in the greater DC area, one of our big clients often is the government. And if you want to talk about complex, one of our biggest clients has been the National Flood Insurance Program. So everybody understands what a flood is, but here's the thing. It's a product that nobody wants, nobody thinks they need, resents having to get, does not trust the entity selling it to them, and they don't control the mechanism by which it's sold. So, so if you take the complexity of that situation and go, yes, we're going to lean into that. There's so many constraints, and I think that translates so well to the B2B space.
Right.
Because, B2B isn't so much a category as it is an audience.
Yeah.
And to recognize that ultimately at the tail end of all of this complexity is somebody making a decision.
Right.
And that decision is maybe rational down the road, but deeply emotional, and if you can translate it to B2B, I might, as a consumer, buy a car and fret over buying a car and get really nervous about buying. The worst that happens to me is I get a lousy car. And,
right.
If I'm buying enterprise software, the worst that happens to me is I lose my job, I possibly lose my career, and then I can't buy the car.
Right.
So you have to understand that all of these situations are still basically human. And
Right.
whether it's government or businesses communicating with any audience, that's what's driving it.
Yep. Let's play this real quick because you gave
Yeah, sure.
an example, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up.
Over the last century, there's been a concerning decrease in green sea turtle population. Big threats to this beautiful species have been pollution, warming seas, and unregulated commercial fishing. And while the poaching of green sea turtles has become illegal, it's still consumed to this day because it's part of many countries' cultural heritage, from China to Nigeria, from Mexico to Peru.
Nos hemos criado con ese alimento de la tortuga.
Era un sustento para nuestro hogar, para nuestra familia.
Can AI and humanity come together to find a solution to this problem? This is where the globally acclaimed Peruvian chef Diego Oca, tech food company Notco, and Giuseppe, Notco's AI platform designed to solve innovation challenges, came together to create Not Turtle, an endangered animal dish without the endangered animal. To begin their research, they needed to analyze real turtle meat, so they went to one of the few countries where it's still legal, the Cayman Islands. And once there, they tried the dish for themselves and learned how it was made. After completing their research, they went to Notco's headquarters to work with Giuseppe and the chefs in order to develop a plant-based alternative for Giuseppe to replicate the taste of turtle meat.
Primero, la textura. Tiene un sabor a cerdo, tiene un sabor a carne.
For Giuseppe to replicate the taste of turtle meat, it analyzed over 300,000 plants and 260 quintillion possible combinations. Giuseppe narrowed it down to 5 proteins and 8 recipes that replicate the texture, taste, and molecular structure of turtle meat.
Creo que lo más importante que nos ha dado Giuseppe es todas las texturas, la gelatina, la proteína, la grasa. Eso solamente lo da el producto original.
Now that they have the recipe, will the people who grew up with this dish accept Not Turtle as an alternative?
We just brought the soup that we made at Notco, and we're gonna give it to the locals, and we want to see what's their opinion.
Tiene el sabor a la sopa de tortuga.
Me ha traído grandes recuerdos, de verdad.
Idéntica a la tortuga, es tortuga.
Not Turtle shows what AI and humans can do for good, preserve cultural traditions while giving endangered animals a chance.
Nos explicaban de la manera que se ponía la tortuga y a nosotros también sentíamos pena, tristeza porque dicen que ella lloraba pues cuando lo mataban.
Join us on this journey and sign up for Not Turtle cooking class.
Probably should have gotten the one with the subtitles, but
Dude, that's awesome, man.
So the reason I brought this is I spent a couple of days with Fernando Machado, the legendary CMO of Notco. Yeah, and he shared so much thought, and this is interesting because this is a consumer brand now selling to businesses,
right?
Their AI technology, and again, it's a content play. They're putting stories out there that are deeply human. It plays to corporate social responsibility. It plays to businesses' bigger place in this world in a way that is so distinctly human and emotional, particularly if you speak Spanish. And it really, it sells I come away from this going, look at all the potential of this platform. I want to be a part of this.
Yes. That's it, and it's just it's the thing that we grapple with here as it relates to AI. It's like use cases. And so there's use cases and then there's humanity cases.
Yeah.
Right. Because use case is simply how it functions. A humanity case is what it can do for the greater good. And there are business cases, et cetera, et cetera. But in this case, it bridges both. So that was a great shout, Josh. Thanks.
Yeah. I saw it and said, oh, that's it. That's the key to B2B.
Yeah. I'm going to wrap with this. One of our thought exercises. If you had to pitch a dream B2B brief right now or client right now, what would it be? I'm going to put Travis on the spot first because he brought up Marky Mark and the Fun Bunch earlier.
I brought it up. Yeah, you brought it up.
No, I know.
It's funny. I mean, I can throw out a brand, but I'm not going to. I feel like when you ask this question, I go to the arts right now. I think the arts are under attack in this country right now by the current administration. I do think that when you look at this, the Great Turtle example that Josh just showed too, like that has a cultural impact. I think the opportunity for brands, my dream brief would be to work on something in the arts that makes a genuine cultural impact in preserving arts and education. I think there's so much room for that in B2B, where it's not just a brand, touting their wares, but their impact.
But yeah, I put your money there. Yeah, 100%. Josh?
We sort of in the same industry under assault. We actually got a brief from a science firm that's basically at the forefront of all the research and are the doers behind combating climate change. And they're not well known. They're not famous. And yet they're not beholden to federal dollars. So they're selling to businesses. And it's such a wonderful brief because the door is they have to be noticed. The door is wide open. And it's funny because you got into the room and they're living in science, which is a thing that we're not doing. We're living in brand, and they're so game. They're so game to be bold. And, one of the thoughts I had is the current, when we're not dealing with this, is such the opportunity to make a powerful statement. And so that's a brief we're really excited about.
I love it. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Really appreciate the time and love the examples. Jamie, we gave you props. We gave you and your team
good work, Jamie.
No, but we're going to see Jamie down in San Francisco soon. We're due for a trip down there. Gentlemen, I'm going to put you backstage for a second. Don't hang up. This isn't a Zoom call. But thanks for joining us. All right, everybody. And I want to thank you for joining us as well. We're going to be off until Tuesday. Still working out a few things. Plus, we will be in Cannes. Kyle O'Brien and I will be there. We got lots of stuff to share next week. It's Friday. I think we're all a little tired right now. So for those of you in the United States celebrating the long weekend and Memorial Day, do enjoy that. For those of you not doing it, enjoy the fact that America has its pie hole shut for an extra day. All right. On behalf of everybody at Indie Agency News, I'm Doug Zanger. See you next time.